and I'm very, very happy. Welcome to a live episode of the weekly Wowos. We're coming to you live here from Kawowo Sports. We have another interesting episode of the weekly Wowos where we're going to be talking about a certain team that made 42 or 42 plus million Ugandans very, very happy last night. And the happiness will continue. The Uganda Cranes yesterday making history, drawing with South Africa. I don't know if a draw earns them some money, but they drew with South Africa to make sure they finish top of group of their group, and that meant that they will also be having a home quarterfinal fixture. So the chance is still alive for the Uganda Cranes. I liked the way how Fofa played around with the bad media around them staying in Chisasi. I think I saw a table today where they were saying that the team staying in Chisasi Hotel is number one. Then I think Skies or something like that. So there are no guarantees even if you sleep in a better bed. But the Uganda Cranes making us very, very proud last night. Your weekly host, Dennis Msali, and I have our Kawowo Sports editor, Franklin Kawero, and Joseph Manmo, who is our resident rugby expert, to take you through this interesting edition of the weekly Wowos. Maybe let me start with I'm sure Franklin's still excited from last evening, but let me start with Joseph. Your starter for this week.
Yeah, obviously I'm also excited for last evening, but my starter of the week comes from rugby. Obviously, we have been having a very busy rugby season with the 7s and also the 15s. But for me, my starter is those 15s boys that played against the Irish Blackrock, especially those younger boys like Bev Okumo and Ethan Mugabe, and also those other boys that hadn't played really for the 15s team, who came in and really performed well. Of course, Uganda lost, but it was an honorable performance.
Was it a Ugandan loss, or was it normally in cricket most times when you don't want to put when you don't want to say Uganda, we call it like chairman's 11, prime minister's 11, so you manage expectations. So I felt that an all-star team is really just a selection of superstars, and you sort of mask the performance in all-star team without necessarily saying it's a Ugandan team.
Well, obviously it's a Ugandan team, and when we were speaking to Coach Kevin McMott after the game, he was really blaming the chemistry, saying that there was no chemistry amongst those boys. And something that is worthy to note is that the team was represented, like almost every team in the league, and even the lower leagues like Kakira and Impis, they were all represented in that team. So it was really a reflection of our league and all the Ugandan setup, really. So the UG All-Stars are a Ugandan team, and we are right to claim our L as a nation and say, yes, we lost.
The man claims it like it has an offer into it.
The badge of honor.
As if it was, there's no reward for suffering. But we'll come to more of that, the Blackrocks tour where Kawowo Sports was a partner. I'm sure Joseph will give us more details of how it went down on that muddy Saturday afternoon at the Chadondo Rugby Club. But Franklin, moving on to you. Your starter for the week.
Yeah, of course, for many Ugandans who have what happened last night at Nambole, but for me, my starter comes from basketball, the Afro Basket. Uganda, the Silverbacks played 3 games and lost all of them, but I was particularly more impressed by Jonathan Komagum, the center. Around 4 years ago, I had a conversation with him. The first time I was joining the team in Kigali, and the excitement that he showed to represent the country was high. So at that time he did not play, but the enthusiasm that he had and at that time was quite impressive. Was for a person who is ready to play for their country. And what has happened since then, he has turned into a boy who is now grown into a man dependable in the center. He can block, he can rebound. Of course, doesn't score a lot, but what you ask of a center, I think he gives you that and more. And for me, in all the way Uganda was beaten, I thought he put the hand up for himself and of course the country. I was very, very impressed with how he delivered as at the center in that team. Very, very impressed.
Yeah, not a very good outing for the Silverbacks in Rwanda, Angola, losing all their 3 group games. Is there anything much to read into those results, or like you mentioned last week that really this was a start for so many of the guys on the team?
Yeah.
So we should manage our expectation.
Yeah. I mean, the guys who follow, and watch Weekly Wowos, nothing that happened during the course of the week really came as a surprise, because this is something that we broke down for them. That look, what is going to happen is that we are going to get all the 3 losses. Obviously, I'm not going to celebrate the L's like Mane has done, but at least for sure we knew that it was going to be a tough tournament. We're going to get the losses, but what I said was that the boys are going to compete, and we saw that especially in the game against Mali, and obviously the game against the last game we played against Egypt. Boys competed so well. Of course, when you're short on the number of players out there, at some point you get run over because you're out of legs. You cannot play at the highest level throughout the 40 minutes of the game, and that is what happened, especially in those 2 games against Egypt and Mali. The boys competed, but you could only do so much when you're limited on personnel.
Yeah, usually I'm very, very interested in following up on how the local boys perform at that level. Yeah. Because the other guys, of course, are coming from leagues that are more superior, so they could have the experience of competing against people we assume that are playing better than us. Yeah. Faid Bale, Ivan Muhwezi, I forgot.
And of course, Joel Kaira.
Yeah. What did you make of their performances for the Silverbacks, Silverbacks in Rwanda?
Yeah.
I watched a bit of Faid Bale, and he wasn't terrible.
Yeah.
But I wasn't able to watch a few other games.
Yeah. One thing that you're always going to be observed, or that you're always going to observe when local boys are playing against guys who are coming from a better basketball culture, you're going to see the difference between learning basketball as a grown-up and then learning basketball from a very, very young age. And I think that cuts all across sports. You're always going to see decisions that are made by a player who has been playing basketball since they were 5, and the player who started playing basketball probably in senior 1, senior 2, there is a very, very big gap, whether it is in terms of confidence, whether it is in terms of execution and skills. Obviously, overall, as a team, we shot the ball very, very poorly, but it was even worse, I think, for the homeboys in terms of shooting. I think the shooting was bad. Of course, Fayed played extended minutes than the other 2. And you would expect that because I think Fayed is one of the players who has gone through that sort of development, where he came from the junior NBA, harnessing his skills to get this level. But for a player who has been in some sort of form locally in the league, I don't think he shot the ball so well. Even wide open shots that has been more like breathing shots here locally did not fall. And that was the whole story of the tournament. We did not shoot the ball quite well.
All right. The Silverbacks, and I know you've read all the stories on Kawowo Sports, especially from Franklin and Edwin Kakule about their performances in Rwanda, Angola. Not a great outing for them, but this is a team for the future. So we hope probably 2 or 3 years later we can be able to judge them.
By the way, from the noise around the circle, if by then you have your Lugogo Arena done, who knows, you may host it here, and you see what the Cranes are doing with hosting and have some sort of home support.
Home advantage, home court advantage.
Yeah.
That Lugogo Arena worries a lot of cricketers because we shall be booted out while other sports will stay. But cricket is one of the sports that will suffer.
find a new home. We shall make something out for you at Chambogo. Temfire.
Hopefully, we shall have to find a new home. But let's start the conversation off from the tour of the Blackrock's team from Ireland that was in Uganda. And they were able to play against Ugandan All-Stars. First of all, I like the reception they got at the airport. I think it's becoming a habit that when teams come here, there's some bit of dancing and stuff like that. It really warms you up very well, and you understand, okay, these are the sort of people. It was really a very good reception by the URIU organized for the Blackrock's team. But speaking about the tour in general, Joseph, let's start with about the whole tour in general before we go into the details of the game that was played on Saturday.
Just a small correction and shout out to Coach Atibu and his team at Kakira Simbas. This tour was organized by them from the Ugandan end, and of course it was blessed by the Uganda Rugby Union, and so the guys came through the Blackrock. They came through. They played a very brilliant game on Saturday, and that was just the beginning of their activities in Uganda. On Monday and Tuesday, they visited On Monday, they visited the Spire School of the Blind. They also had a prison visit down there in Chirinya, that's in Jinja. Today, which is Tuesday, they are doing some coaching clinics for the young kids around the Kakira area. Then on Thursday, they are going to have, a tournament for the kids again, just to catch up on some of the things that they have, taken them through. And then on Friday, there is a fun Rugby Sevens, activity going on down there at Kakira. And also there is a launch of the Kakira facility, rugby facility. And as we know, right now, Kakira has been promoted to the senior league, to the main league, the National League. So, that is a big step for them, if at all they are to maintain that status. But earlier when you guys were having a conversation, I picked up on a few things. Franklin talked about, at what age people are introduced to the game. And that was very evident. That was very evident in that game on Saturday. You can tell someone who learned rugby in S1 and someone who learned rugby, when they were probably like 3 years old. Then, anyway, let us start from there.
Let us start from there. One of the things I think for people who have gone around the continent quite regularly, and you're talking about people who are non-Ugandans. You talk to teams that come here, you talk to whether sports administrators and that kind of stuff. One of the things that is almost common with every one of them is that Uganda's hospitality is way up there compared to anywhere else that you go around Africa. And for the Blackrock receiving that kind of first of all reception at the airport alone, that was a sign of what was to come. I mean, what Uganda is all about. Like when it comes to hospitality, Uganda is top of the shelf. And I mean, everywhere they go, you're always going to have that kind of reception.
I'm hoping that Fred can find it somewhere. But and someone says because of how we are, sometimes that's why we don't excel in sport, because we're not ruthless. We want to be nice people. Finish last. We are not. We sort of tuning up a or something like that. So we're not ruthless when it comes to sport, because we want to be nice people.
No, not really. You could even tell from, the after party that those Irish guys were really feeling at home, and they repaid Uganda's hospitality by also being, quite friendly. If at all you looked around the Chadondo areas and whatnot later on that evening, you could tell that they are more. How can I describe it? That this is not the usual crowd.
Yeah.
You could tell that wasn't the usual crowd that frequents that facility. But in terms of sports, you may, you say something about our hospitality and our niceness. But when I was doing a little research, for example, Uganda's first Olympic medal from Rabuogo, Motoro, people that we assume are, kind of soft and humble, but it was in boxing.
Yeah.
So, sport and someone's personality, they may link it to each other, but they are not really, influential, if I may say.
Yeah, that's a reception for that Blackrock's team that's visited Uganda at the airport. And of course, Kawowo Sports, as usual, was available. The dancing, and was very, very good to see. You can see that the guys are mesmerized by it. They're like, okay. Girls can shake their horse like this.
So, but then, I mean, talking a little bit about that sort of perspective that Uganda is all about. Obviously, we're catching a little bit of Zambia after that game at Chadondo, with of course South Africa playing Australia, and you could see, I mean, how they were mixing, Uganda mixing with the guys, having fun. I mean, the chants that they were singing, obviously for obvious reasons. The Irish guys were supporting Australia, and then of course there was some bit of banter here and there. It was all fun after the game, and that is the kind of stuff that says what Uganda is all about when it comes to hospitality and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, the things that
it's always open arms.
Yeah, the things that sport can do, very easily there you can get a penny pool just because you are supporting the same team.
And the thing about those Irish boys or gentlemen, right? When you see some of the pictures from their ginger visit, you can tell that they are actually loving the experience. They are giving with a lot of joy. They are doing everything that they are doing with a lot of happiness, with smiles on their face. I believe this is a tour that they are going to remember, and hopefully not in the next 54 years like it has taken them to come back here.
Yeah, I think the onus will be on the guys from Kakira to make sure that this is sort of like an annual trip for the guys to keep coming down to Uganda. Yeah. But speaking about the game proper, okay, the result, there was no friendship in that result. Uganda one side, and then the Irish Rock, the Ugandan All-Stars on one side, and then the Blackrock team coming out emphatically. I think it's only probably the last play of the game. That's when Uganda got their sort of consolation try. We even missed the conversion. But I thought because of the rain, we'll have sort of an advantage. But there was no advantage whatsoever because the visitors ran out winners comprehensively and in an emphatic manner. If it wasn't for that last play, it would have been 19-3.
Yes.
But ended 19-8 in favor of the Blackrock's team. Let's speak about that game, Joseph.
First of all, the weather conditions were for everyone. You can't say that it only rained in the Ugandan half or in the Irish half. So it rained for everyone. So you are all both teams have to play under the same conditions. Yeah. So that is no advantage. We first take it away. But kudos to both sets of players. They had very good hands on the day. When you would assume that the ball would be wet and they would be dropping it a lot, they actually had very good hands on the day. But when you come down to the game itself, it was a matter of basics. First of all, in the first 20 minutes, the game was still 0-0, but the Irish were doing everything right. Every time Uganda had possession and obviously cleared their territory into the Irish arms, those Irish boys made sure they bring it back to us and we play in our half. So that was mostly the story of the first around 20 to 25 minutes, still 0-0. Then the basics came to the fore. The Blackrock guys were throwing very well in their lineouts, and their captain Roy Whelan was always rising up in the air and collecting those lineouts. And then in one incident, in one of those lineouts, their first try, they throw the ball. Rogan throws the ball, that is their hooker. Whelan collects, then they try to set up a maul, but they lose the ball and it drops. But somehow Kian Pacho was very fast to it, faster than the Ugandan defense, picked it up, scored, and unfortunately they didn't convert. Or fortunately they didn't convert on that occasion. And then I think you remember the second try, similar fashion, line out, throw the ball, collect it, set up a maul, and then their hooker scores. Yeah. And that was the same story for, even the third try. we have talked about this during the league. I think, Franklin, you're one of those people who can testify that the maul is not a weapon that we use a lot in Ugandan rugby. And yet it is one of the easiest ways of scoring. You get? And that also reflected that because we don't use it in the league, we don't even know how to defend it.
Yes.
Exactly.
And but
Barry Galvin.
so you can do. But for me, one of the things that stood out for sure is that yes, we were clearing the line. I mean, clearing our backs, but I feel that the
Contact, and now Blackrock are looking threatening over there. And here go Rock on the back line, showing contact, and now Blackrock are looking threatening over there. And here go Rock on the back line, playing internationally across the border in Kenya and Cabras. Pushes his
again,
playing internationally across the border in Kenya and Cabras.
You learn the game from
Pushes
that age. You'll be very, very, very different from. And look, for some reason, I really believe that we were a little bit lucky. Okay, Uganda All Stars were a little bit lucky that it rained, because I would imagine if the conditions were dry and they were playing in open play like that, you know, if they could have very good hands with the wet ball like that, those Irish boys, what would happen if they were running their structures on a dry weather?
Exactly. Also, well, their 10 was barely touched the whole game.
Exactly.
His jersey was very clean, and they were putting on white meanwhile. But his jersey was so clean, the 10 and the 15, they were so clean because they knew all the basics, what to do. We don't play from here, we play from there. Exactly. Where are we kicking? Where do we have a chaser to kick after that ball and press the Ugandans in their half? Not just kicking, waiters, no, but you kick with purpose and make sure you put the ball in the right territories where you have the right chasers in order to, you know, put that pressure up. Yes, on the defense, and then they play from that half.
And you see, when you look at stuff like that, how
if we've played, Fred could just play us that try again
how
from,
William
from the line out. Could see what the guys have been talking about.
Yeah, you see how William Nkore was so close, couldn't even get space to kick the ball properly because almost every kick for territory was being contested. For
contact, and now Blackrock are looking threatening over there. And here go Rock on the back line.
To know the game, you know, when a 10 is playing very close to the breakdown, obviously you're not going to have enough room to get a clear kick of that ball. And again, this goes back. The same stuff happened with Haruna Mohammed. It is going to be hard. Like you need to get
that's a line out and the ball drops.
Then Kieran Pacho picks it up there and just goes straight to the try line.
Easy. The stuff, and that all comes down to really having the basics right. And as far as that is concerned, we did not account.
And you see, some of those Irish boys who are playing in that game, for example, there are 15, Brian Koklo, there are 13, Matthew Dwan, all those are traveling with their fathers on this tour. So that would clearly indicate that these people who have been exposed to the game from a very early age, these are people who are now playing at not the topest level, but at least they are playing competitively because they have been exposed to this longer than others. In the Ugandan context, for example, you would look at players like Aaron Ofoiroth, very good, does everything right with the ball because he has been exposed to that ball from like childhood. And most of those other boys from, you know, tag rugby and, you know, that age grade rugby at Shadondo and Naguru and all that. So you can tell that there is a slight difference between, you know, the kids who have been exposed to the game early and the ones who have picked it up later in life. Yeah. But also because you're playing, now you who has picked up early, you're playing against those who have just learned. You almost begin playing the same, you know.
It becomes average.
Yes.
The man is just using so many words to say that we don't have soft skills.
Yeah.
But it's okay.
But I also feel that the experience for us, I think those are lessons that we can pick up. Some people learn very early, but you can also bloom later. There's no problem in learning late and then becoming as good as those that started very early. Of course, there's always that gap in terms of the skill. If I've been at it longer than you, then it's easy for me to most times go back to my default settings when the pressure is on. So probably in conditions like this, there was no need of being fancy, apart from doing your basics right. As simple as that.
Yeah. When you look at how, for example, I talk about getting the basics right and making sure the ball move. I think we made the same contribution in that game. Myself, who was at the touchline, I think I nearly made the same contribution as Robinson Odrua on the left wing, because he was not used at all. Okay, all he did was run, defend, and all that. But going forward, almost came out with a clean shot. And you know if you have your wingers, the wingers fast as of course Grant, then he barely touches the ball. You know the ball is just not moving at all. You're going to play first play kick. But then ball in hand, moving it, nothing. And that's not the kind of rugby that you want to play in this age, especially. You know, the ball has got to move.
Yes, you have to move the ball, but before you do that, before you move that ball, you have to do certain things right. For example, the thing that we saw plaguing the Uganda Cranes was also seen in this game. Our forwards stand so flat next to the 10, and the 10 is so close to the action because that's why their forwards have forced him to be. You get there is no way that our 10, William Corey, was going to go deep when the people is supposed to pass to are in front of him. So he also has to come and get as close as possible so that he plays that ball. And then you realize that now possession dies from there because you're always playing in the middle, and once you pull like 2, 3, 4 phases and nothing happens, then you resort to the boat and take it away and sort of say, now let us play from those ends and see maybe if we can get something from there. But another positive that I saw in that game, Michael Korach was playing center with Pius Ogena, and I think that sort of reminded me of the Rugby Africa Cup, that we really lacked size in the center, in that center area. When you look at the centers for Zimbabwe, look at the centers for Kenya, Algeria, all those are massive units who are playing in those areas, and once they meet your smaller backs, it's a mismatch, and they will hurt them. And at least that is one positive that, okay, there are very many positives, but that is one of them. Otherwise, we needed to move the ball better. You have Okenyi on the outside. You have, Robin Odrua on the other wing. Why aren't you moving the ball to them so that, we can sort of get something?
Try and have the other team on the other end. But also a big shout out to the fans who were able to brave that heavy downpour on that day. I thought that Kawowo, no one will be able to show up, but people really braved that downpour that afternoon to come out and support the team. Joseph gave us the math on the week, and I'm sure people had come on their budget. They said, "Kweli, there's nowhere for me to go at my only plot this weekend." Was to spend my 50K. So
unfortunately, that budget was interrupted by some hot coffees and tea here and there. idea
then the chigere was substituted.
You budget for maybe a cold one here and there, then you reach Nkuba Netonya and you have to take like a cold coffee and and all that. So
I don't know if Chadi has a lady who was those sports facilities have ladies with that chai of like 2K. It has mujaja on it. It has mujaja on it, but it is 2K. It is pocket friendly.
There is an official coffee person there, and they also have some tea. Obviously, they also have some hot soups that you can consume just to sort of cool down in that weather if you're single like me and Franklin.
Why is the man putting me in his
remove him from his nonsense. But that was the summary of the two of the Blackrock's team who are still in Uganda visiting. They are in the eastern part of Uganda doing a few serious activities before they head back home. But of course, the highlight was that game against the Ugandan All-Star team. The game where they was live on Kawowo Sports. Some lovely shots from Fred and his team. Those drone images were very, very, very nice. I saw someone commenting that do not mind the facility. It's not the responsibility of Kawowo. Just enjoy the content.
Yep.
So very, very well done to the Kawowo production team on giving us those amazing. Actually, I was able to also catch the game on Kawowo YouTube because we were out of town trying to follow up on certain stuff. But once I realized that I was one of the people, many people waiting. We are coming. But eventually I was able to catch the game on our YouTube channel. So well done to Fred and the team for giving us those amazing, in very tough conditions.
Extremely
difficult to stream a game in rainy conditions. But the guys were able to bring us the game live on Kawowo Sports YouTube channel. We'll switch up the conversation quickly and try and preview the third leg of the Rugby 7 seasons. The Rugby 7 season that will be hosted by the Entebbe Mongers. First things first, they've had a change of facility from
the normal Entebbe grounds.
They call it
the Entebbe Works ground.
Entebbe Works ground. And this time they are going somewhere on Kawowo Road. That Kawowo Road has some really amazing sports facilities, by the way. We could go as there with a sports NGO. They have a sports facility around about Kids of Africa. There's a really very nice sports facility there. There was cricket, there was rugby as well, but there were very many. They invited a group of youngsters to come and take part in very many activities. So the idea is to expose the kids at that age to very many sports, not just so the kids will keep rotating around. They play some rugby, they go for lacrosse, they come for cricket, they go for netball, they go for. There were very many different sports codes in that facility. It's around Kids of Africa. And for them, it's I think they do it annually, but there is a continuous program that runs throughout the month for other young kids. So I'm wondering where this rugby facility is, but I think let's start from there, why we are moving from the works ground to Kawowo. But Kawowo is really a growing community, and I think if sports is able to thrive there, there's a sort of a growing middle class community that is in that area.
So the thing about the Entebbe Sevens, first this weekend was supposed to be for the Rujuba Sevens, then they somehow exchanged dates with the Entebbe Sevens on request from the Entebbe team, and now they have changed again from the works grounds that is in Entebbe, just around the market, to now that facility in Kawowo. Again, no reasons, but we shall take it because the rugby has to be played somehow. And, Entebbe is a special venue for rugby, not just, for sevens, but also for 15s. And now going back to Entebbe, last week I highlighted that, the smaller teams that I'm actually rooting for, Rhinos they won there last year. They won in Entebbe last year. And now, so far, Walukuwa and Buffaloes have won something. Heathens on that log is about fourth. Pirates is, down those ends. It's really interesting to see that going into the third leg, it is now or never, in my opinion. If at all you don't win anything now, if at all you don't close the gap now, you're only remaining with 4 circuits. And of which those 4 circuits, some teams tend to grow into them. You get, for example, right now, the bigger clubs that are missing some of their big boys, probably taking a rest or simply not available. And now the smaller, what we would call the smaller clubs, have taken advantage of this. And now they are accumulating all the points as early as possible. Like how, that is the facility right there, the Saipali Institute, I think that's down in Kawowo. And I saw the ground. The ground is very beautiful. There is some sort of, stands for fans where they can sit and enjoy the game, unlike these other makeshift venues where you just have to stand around the pitch. So ideally, it's not a rugby venue, but because that is the region or the area, sort of hosting, you just have to add some extra poles onto the goal posts and make it a rugby venue. Where was I? Yes, I was still talking about how the smaller teams are accumulating points right now. Let me use another boxing example. For example, there are 12 rounds. Now, the smaller guy will make sure that they accumulate points early enough. As they tire you out, by the time you realize that you have to wake up and sort of put up a fight, it is already gone. And that is what is happening in this case. You will find that the top 4, there is Walukuba, Buffaloes, Rhinos, and Heathens somehow. And then you find these other traditional, giants, that is Cobs and Pirates, down somewhere. And it's, going to be very hard for them to recover if at all they don't do something special in Entebbe.
Yeah, Franklin, is it a case of the small guys thinking that it will be difficult for me to compete against the big boys in 15s rugby, but in 7s, do the small guys take it more serious than the bigger guys who think maybe even if I come up against Walukuba or anything, I'll run over them, and then things don't go as expected. While Walukuba, their mentality is different, that for us to pick up any silverware this season, this is it. For every circuit we're going to show up. We're not just coming to make up the numbers, but we're going to show up. We go to Gulu, and if everything goes our way, we shall be able to actually eventually even win the whole thing.
You see, with 7 is the difference between it and the 15th game is that one on the same level, because usually what big teams or traditional giants have over the relatively small teams is that when it comes to forward play, they are going to literally push them over, and they are going to dominate all those pieces. But now when it comes to a 7th game where there is a lot of space to operate, and where it is now speed over anything else, it is more like a leveled ground. Okay, for all the 7 sides, for as long as you are prepared, you're always going to have a chance in the 7th game, because players in the 7th game are relatively pretty much the same size, if I may put it that way, same size, nearly the same skill level, because they are all backs, most of them. And then now it was going to come back to the final details of who is more prepared, who is taking advantage of the little mistakes that the other team is making. And because of that level ground, you find small teams going pound for pound with the traditional big teams.
I just say, Dennis, in 15s, usually some teams will decide to batter you into submission. For example, I don't know whether South Africa is the right example, but when you begin the game with 15 players, you're given 8 extra players as substitutes. South Africa usually elects to just put forwards and then put like 2 backs in those substitute, slots, so that they can batter into submission if at all you've put up a good fight. And we saw Pirates also sort of employing this. And I said here that, for example, you'll see Ariho Momuza on the pitch battering you, and then you look at the bench and you see a Mongelifas warming up. Gamba, when is this punishment going to end? Whereas for the 7s, it's almost, as Franklin has noted, almost the same skill set. So it's a sort of leveled ground. Many years ago, when Hippos was winning this, before they sort of moved their play now into the forwards and sort of also tried to dominate that, they were typically a 7s team. They had very fast boys. They still do. Okay, depending on which Hippos you're looking at. They still have very fast boys, and now the Walukuba Barbarians are now using that very same template. Bring your best players into, you bring them into the 7s and let them win you things there. For example, some of the forwards that they use in the 7s as the forwards, you'll find only like one player, Edward Emiemu, who is an actual forward in the 15s game too. But when they go for their scrimmages, you'll find that a player like Shakim Sembus is the one in the forwards in the 7s game, a player that is actually very fast. So that means that when it is open play and the ball is flowing, they are going to punish you the whole day. It
is always going to be one-on-one. Step one, you have the whole field to yourself.
Let's look at the draws, the groups for this weekend's 7s circuit in Entebbe. If you look at the groups, Joseph, what do you make of these groups?
The groups are actually very competitive. Unlike in the upcountry circuits, where whoever is seeded number 3 sort of has to fight off who is seeded number 1 and 2. In this case, when you have invitational sides like the Victoria Sharks, like the Mighty Makerere Impis, like the Jaguars and the Warriors, these are actually strong sides. So that means that all the 4 in the group are going to be fighting for something. Unlike when you go up country and then you find that only 3 out of the 4 are competitive, and then it is easier for the third person to sort of say I'm going to die with number 2. At least I also get in the second position, and I qualify for the quarterfinals. But when you look at those groups, they're all fairly matched up. I don't think there is a group of death this time. Maybe that group, that is Group D, where Heathens find themselves. Unfortunately, they finished 9th in Gulu, which means that they are not in the top 2 seeding positions, and that creates problem for whichever group they will land in, because ideally now you have a top 8 side coming in as the 9th, and now that leaves only one slot for a beatable side in the 4th. In that 4th, position to play for. But all the groups are fairly matched, and I can't wait to see.
The mighty is beating Pirates.
Yes, of course. The first one we shall beat Hippos. Whichever Hippos they bring, we shall beat. Obviously, Pirates we can also beat. It is that. So we just wait for Impis in the quarterfinals Sunday morning. I hope our chief editor Franklin Kawowo doesn't change my headline that morning.
That the
mighty Impis on the way to winning the sevens.
I'm sure you'll be giving us very updated about the Impis. If we take predictions, Franklin, who do you think shall? Because normally everyone is always interested in Sunday morning. What time are you playing on Sunday morning? Which are the teams do you think will go on to the quarterfinals?
Heathens. I'll start from the top. Buffaloes will be there. Of course, Walukuba. You'll have Rhinos there. You'll have Pirates. You'll have Heathens, definitely. You'll have.
I think you've missed out a Rhinos there.
Oh no, I mentioned Rhinos. I mentioned Rhinos.
Yeah.
Cobb, I'll give Cobbs the benefit of the doubt. Cobbs will be there. Now the 8th team.
Cobbs is an afterthought. I'm surprised. I'm surprised Cobbs is an afterthought.
Yeah, Cobbs has not been has not been playing with their best sevens players, if I may put it that way. But you're hoping that, being central, the guys who don't usually travel up country will be there, available and be able to play. I expect some sort of switch up in the squad for Entebbe Sevens. Probably have the big boys available to play.
Yeah, Joseph. Joseph, you may say Impis in the quarters. Let me move
I'm only going to make one simple prediction, and I really hope I'm not jinxing them, but I feel like this is it for the Rhinos. This is their time to win something. At the Coronation Sevens, they finished 4th, lost to Buffaloes. Yes, they lost to Buffaloes in that 3rd place playoff, and then they went to Gulu and lost to Buffaloes again in that final of the Gulu Sevens. I feel like this time around, if at all Buffalo somehow makes it to the final and they meet Rhinos has a very big debt to pay, and I feel like this is their time. That is the only prediction I'm making.
Okay.
And maybe also Impis in the semis. Of the Entebbe Sevens.
We are talking.
Not of the Central Sevens.
You're on serious business.
Is it semi-finals of the Challenger Cup or the main event?
The team has been beaten by Sharks into Central, but the man still thinks a team like that is going.
Just watch this space.
It's okay. In fact, I would put Sharks way ahead of Impis. I would think of Sharks way ahead.
Yeah, but also in the women's category, the Avengers are going to be home in Entebbe, and the Avengers won in Gulu. They won the Gulu Sevens. Kudos to Maimuna Nasozi. She put up a very good performance, and there are other stars, Christina Kelo, Fazila Namukwaya, all those ones, they did very well. And if at all they've got their rhythm now and they are going home, this is theirs to win. Unfortunately, for the team that more leaning into the Black Pearls, they haven't been doing very well. They have very many players missing, and some people have been, unfairly saying that it was a one-woman show for Emily Lekuru, just running in with all those tries, which isn't the case. You can tell that they have most of their players that are missing, but I hope that every team in the women's category is to their full potential and they come out and compete. And the reason why I say that is because the Now Rapids missed the first circuit, then they played the second circuit with girls on national national TV and a national broadcast barefooted, which was quite unfortunate. And, some of those girls, I believe, were playing rugby for the first time. They just got random girls and put them together for the Nile Rapids.
I saw a fundraiser going around online for the girls, for people to contribute.
Yes, Denise Namale, shouts out to you, Denise. She did an incredible job, and now the girls have gotten some pairs of boots, 13 boots, and then some time back, another anonymous, contribution came in for the Walukuba Titans, and they also managed to get some boots. So I love the direction that is going.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of poverty porn being out there, but it is what it is. If not necessarily, but sometimes it gives people the wrong perception of everything. But again, if the end justifies the means. Yeah. There's nothing much they do. The Nile Rapids, are they connected to the hippos?
To the ginger hippos.
Yeah, I heard it somewhere where they said that someone got their money, but that person is not from their camp, blah blah, things like that. But I couldn't verify that information, and I'm like, okay. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a sports administrator. At the end of the day, your purpose, you're here for the sportsmen. It's not about you. It's about those that play the sport. For example, a game like rugby, unless if you're going to eat money for ragas, and then I think you don't deserve to be anywhere close to heaven, because people put their bodies on the line.
Yes, I get your argument, but in this particular case, it's a matter of being blessed with a lot of leadership that one club has two excoms, and then union sends money to one excom, and then the other excom claims that the other excom is done with the money, and that sort of thing. But I don't think that there is any money missing. I just think that there is money that went, to what some may argue to the wrong excom.
Usually, when that happens in cricket, they normally first tell the both of you, Joseph and Franklin, first go out there and you sort yourselves. When you're kawa, you come back. There's no point in taking sides, saying we shall only speak to Franklin. Yet Joseph again is the one who's organizing the teams, and at the end of the day, it's you leave the players in the middle of nowhere. They are not sure whether to play for Franklin or Joseph. Ultimately, it is them that suffer and miss out on opportunities.
Obviously, Joseph will tell you that the union took a side already. That is what he's trying to say, but being nice about it.
Of course, the ones they recognize are the ones they sent to the subsidies for the teams to organize and play. And unfortunately, the ones that they sent to the subsidies didn't have a team to present at the Coronation Sevens for the Nile Rapids. And it was almost the same thing in Gulu, and they just put together a bunch of girls to come and sort of, have a feel of that overball.
So that's kind of tells you the problem that actually the people who you think you're funding are not the people who are for the players. And after one round, you should actually know that, look, for them it is office. It's not actually for ground. Because ideally, if you are not able to raise the players, it means what are you managing?
Exactly. And you see, the main stakeholder has spoken, and they have said this is what we recognize, and if for you that's what you recognize, then let them field their own players. And they have been suffering, and they will continue to suffer in the Entebbe Sevens because they find themselves in the group with Makere Impis.
We're about to count the number of times you're going to say you're going to.
Then let's move on from
the mighty Impis. But the third round of the Rugby Sevens will be happening in Entebbe, hosted by the Entebbe Mongers. Different venue, so please do not go looking for the rugby at the Works Ground. There's a new facility in Kawowo, just on Entebbe Road. You take your left. I think they've shared a pin online. You take your left, you're going into Kawowo. I don't think it will be a very difficult place to find this weekend. So the rugby will be happening in Kawowo, not Entebbe, the Works Ground. And of course, the Kawowo sports team will be there to bring you some of the amazing images from the rugby and keeping you updated on who will be the winner of the third round. The first one, the Coronation Sevens, won by the Walukuba Barbarians. And of course, the Golo Sevens won by the Entebbe Buffaloes. So the underdogs are in charge of the first 2 rounds. And from the prediction from our resident rugby expert, Joseph Man Mahomes, he says
it is Rhino's time.
It is Rhino's time to come good this weekend. So the historical names, none of them being spoken about as favorites for this particular third round. But we'll wait and see and find out how the action goes down. Leaving the rugby alone, I want to speak about a national team that made 45 million people very, very happy last evening, creating history. And the videos have been trending because I don't know what triggered sort of the uproar, making it look like a big comeback for the Ugandans. But the Uganda Cranes yesterday managing to come from behind and draw 3-3 with the Bafana of South Africa. And that result was enough to move Uganda from third place. By the 85th minute, we were in third place. And after those 2 goals, we were straight to the top of the table. And South Africa, we swapped positions with South Africa. Algeria and Niger were playing at the same time at the Nyayo Stadium in Nairobi, Kenya, because both games were in the same group. So I think they wanted to manage that syndicate. I'll make you guys laugh. Yesterday when I was leaving Nambole, some guy convincing some fans, Nyayo Stadium in Tanzania. In my head, I even first doubted myself. I'm like, let me first Google, but the one I know is in Kenya. But the guy was sure, Badik Tanzania. And the other guys just replied in unison, like, hey, one man, hey, but I'm like, okay, anyway, we are all happy to whom it may concern. Algeria being held by Niger to a goalless draw. And the 3-3 draw just enough for Uganda to be able to top the group, which meant that they will get a home quarterfinal, but also move on from the groups for the first time after 6 attempts, I think. Yep. A historical moment. But I think, first of all, by the 83rd minute, when the third goal went in, some Ugandan fans had started leaving the stadium. Before they could reach the gate, they had Ndulu, they came back. Uganda had a penalty. And then, of course, anyway, they just stayed for the other goal. And then people started believing that something could happen for Uganda. But that's a beautiful and spectacular number. First of all, the tickets sold out immediately. They went on offer. I think by 9 a.m., the tickets were completely sold out. Yeah. I do not know why, because that stadium didn't look full at all. There were spaces. People could have been able to fit in.
No, it was eventually full after the brims. But you talk about guys working on, and for me that was the most typical, I think, of football fans. By the way, I know some of the guys who were in the media tribune were like, if I wasn't here, I would have walked out, obviously. But an important result for the team.
We've spoken about the result. Why is it that Ugandan fans sort of when that stadium, when the third goal went in, the next 10 minutes were so silent, you'd think people are praying. Their prayers here, not a football match. It was so silent. I don't know whether we have not yet learned the art of making sure that whether it is 1-0 or 2-0, we are going to make noise until the last minute.
But also you have to look at the clock. It is 5 minutes to play, you're 2 goals down. I mean, for people who know where Uganda's goal comes from very, very, very far. You know, it's not that. By the way, it's not that Uganda was playing that. It's our knowledge. You know, it was a difficult match where for entire almost the entire 90 minutes were on the back foot. You know, if you're playing defensively like that, when there's not been any sort of hope of scoring, apart from, of course, that opener and a few breaks that the Cranes were putting on. When the third goal goes in, clearly, for NSN, you know that there is no comeback. Really because there's not been a promise throughout the entire second half of trying to find a goal or even holding the match. Because soon as the team returned, they conceded almost in 5 minutes, and that is typical of Uganda. Like when you concede 2 cheap goals in a space of 4 minutes, chiga and nyakati. And now when the third goes in, I mean that was for me the basin where like almost nearly a quarter of the stadium had walked out, and then at full time you're again seeing it is
now full again.
Full again.
Joseph Franklin says something about Uganda's goals, and when you look at the whole tournament so far, statistically they have had about 3 penalty goals. 3 penalty goals. The fourth one was saved and scored on the rebound. But now for the fans, fairs to them. Who would have thought that in 5 minutes you'd have 2 penalties? Maybe the first one was a penalty, the second one also a penalty. But what are the odds that you get 2 in 5 minutes?
But the lead up to this game really dominated by where the Cranes are staying in Kisasi. I think people in Kisasi may be offended. They're like, Banangi, this is a suburb, upscale Kampala. But the lead up to the game, of course, with where the Cranes are staying, is it a big deal?
And look, it would have been swept and I think under the wraps, but when the players took some bit of throw through the place, that's when it got the attention of every football head, in the country of where the team was staying, and what sort of influence it can have on the performance, of the guys. And
But time for people who follow football, that place has always been known as the Cranes Hotel.
Exactly. And I'm telling you, the reason why it drew a lot of attention is when the players were strolling through, taking a walk. Hey, Basule no because I think because it had been quiet throughout the tournament. Until those pictures of them whatever walking through came out.
For people who know that zone, you'll always see their bus outside there.
Yes.
You always know
it is always an afterthought, but when those pictures came out, that's when it drew attention of everyone. Hey, Basule no job, and then they were looking. Now everybody goes like, where are the other teams staying? Hey, Sheraton, Protea, Skies. I'm like, okay.
I think people are looking for an excuse to blame our boys just in case the result never went.
No, it's not the boys, the administration. Sure, I'm not blaming the boys. It will be on the
the thing about facilities and player welfare is actually quite important because someone once noted that when Paul Pot went to the training ground in Luzira, that is at the Maroons pitch, he saw the way the ball was bouncing and said, no, we cannot be training from here. And then they took them back. After Paul Pot had left, after that appointed the 2 co-coaches, then they took them back again to Luzira to train from there. There is also another facility, not quite famous yet, but it had been working as their recovery place. That is a place that any regular Ugandan can walk in for 5K and use the pool, 10K use the gym, and that is the same facility that our national team players were using when they were preparing for this CHAN tournament. So I think it's quite important to take care of that welfare. Let them use the right facilities. For example, if at all these are the players that we are calling our stars and putting, national hope, all 45 million of us, then I think they sort of deserve better.
All right. Well, our own Uganda Cranes. But let's speak about the game proper, Franklin. Uganda coming into that game missing someone who, for me, has been my player of the tournament. And he comes from the mighty KCCA, Joe Serunjoji.
Now you guys are just exchanging words.
No, Joe Serunjoji missing from that game. Jonah Kakande given the opportunity to start in his position. Yesterday, my opinion, I felt that he was greatly missed, one by the team, secondly by Enoch Sebagala, because now Uganda, you would see that our captain Roger Storach and Mr. Bihogo Hilary Mukundane were being forced to try and thread balls to the guys on the forward line, which was really not working because they're not built like that. And then Sebagala had to build
the attack, play the ball in the midfield, be slow in their build up, and for a team like that has a slow build up, you needed a defense that is also and midfield that is also set now. The absence of Serunjoji meant that now Karim Watambara has been playing as an attacking midfielder. I had to drop back a little bit and join Sebagala in the defensive role to be the double pivot. But as we know, Watambala is not that holding midfielder, okay? And of course, Watambala dropping meant that Kakande had to take on that number 10 role of being creative and all that. But I mean, since the game against Algeria, he had not played significant minutes. I'm talking about Kakande. Had not played significant minutes. Yeah. So he was pretty much, in a way, coming to a new role again because they had to adjust to a team that had played 2 games differently from what they had done against Algeria. But you talk about how that defensive midfield was a little bit in 6 and 7. You know, when you have Sebagala patrolling that left side of the holding midfield, and then you have now being joined by a player who is not naturally a defensive midfielder, who is pretty much a makeshift player that you're putting in that role, it becomes very, very difficult. Time and again, you're going to lose track of the player who you're supposed to mark. And now that means that they are going to get to the your defense very quickly. Yeah. And pretty much that is what happened. While we were quite, while Coach Molly's tactic was quite good at stay back, go on the break, but it also gave South Africa a lot of time to initiate attacks, especially on that right side of theirs, with their wing back, who runs that right wing so well, and they had acres of space in which he was operating. But I thought overall it was managing the game. Yeah. Well, you could see that yes, 7 George is missed, but now with what you have, how do you mind the game? And I thought most of
Franklin, would you argue that was sort of like a tactical masterclass because you bring in Kakande, who isn't exactly like for like as Seron George, and you throw him into that midfield to play with Watambala and Sebagala. Do you think that was a tactical masterclass, or it somehow paid off? So all is well that ends well.
No. One. Coach Moliviekwasa and Muhumza don't have a lot of options. The only other natural midfield option available was Elvis Ngonde. You know, and Ngonde is like Watambara. He goes where the ball is. You know, he likes to get involved. He's not going to have that sort of positional sprint. I want a holding midfielder. This is your area of operation. You know, Ngonde is not like that. Just like Watambara. So it was not a tactical masterclass. It was, how do I use the resources I have? Because if you're not putting in, you're not dropping back, for example, Watambala, it means you have to pull one of the central defenders, either one of the Dongos to come and be your other defender, but they are not going to give you a lot going forward, okay? And now you're playing again in South Africa, at home you need to go forward.
Yeah, you need to score a goal.
You get, for
me, it was going to be very difficult for us to keep a clean sheet.
Yeah, so for me it was about coaches going with the obvious option that is there. You know, you don't want to be very defensive at home. You know, by bringing another defender in the middle of the park, we would rather have a ball-playing midfielder that you can time and again shouting something, hey, Komawo, and they will kind of understand. But then it is very hard to tell a defender to a younger so because mentally in English like this is my area of operation, what is going to happen, you know? That kind of, so you want to say it is a masterclass. A masterclass is not necessarily a masterclass, but it is using the resources that you have to get the best. And that's what they did.
But also, in my opinion, I feel like the introduction of Kakande sort of curtailed the operations of Alan Okello. Kakande was always popping up in those areas where you'd ideally expect Okello to be operating. And if at all you are playing, for example, with Watambala in that 10 role, here is manages to thread through those passes to his wingers, to Mpande and Okello and Semugabi ahead. But when you have a Kakande who loves being on the ball, who loves pulling a trick or two, then you're putting the other players out of the game.
I think in a couple of occasions, he didn't have that keen eye to see that someone was, I could thread a ball through and someone runs onto it and we create an opportunity. He was dwelling on the ball rather than releasing the ball very, very quickly. But Joel Mutakuba, the goalkeeper, from a man of match performance, yesterday he was all over the place. He made a save, of course, before the third goal, but ill-advised for him to go out of his area when he had enough protection around him to try and take care of the situation. Yesterday, he was a bit exposed
Oh yes.
In terms of his decision making.
Exactly, and for goalkeepers, that is very, very important. For you, you're supposed first of all to start. You're supposed to be in command of your defense, on knowing who is supposed to track which player. You know, when they make a deep cross like that one, for example, you don't need to chase the player going after the ball.
Really, it was too soon to do what the Italians do in that situation. Just take one for the team, handball, and then trust your goalkeeper to try and save, and then maybe you can come back.
Yeah, you don't want to get a red card at that point. And for me, that is one of the things that I'm going to, I think, to praise the players for, knowing that, look, we kind of have this. Of course, when you consider a goal like that, you saw everyone almost sank until something happened out of the blue at the other end.
I'll tell you what, from what I would see, and you can see some of the reaction there from the fans
walking out
already, are not very happy. Let's get the reaction from some of the fans from the match. You see guys already looking, going for the exit. So for me, what worked well for me, Franklin, someone who hasn't had so many minutes in this tournament, I think for me when he came on, I felt like sort of he took the responsibility on himself to try and rally the rest of the guys. You know, Centamo, I don't know how important he can be for the team, especially in the quarterfinal, but he hasn't played so much. But when he came on yesterday, he sort of tried to rally the boys that, come on guys, it's not yet over. Let's try. First let's listen to what the reaction from some of the fans from the game, from that game. That's really before the action from the team.
First of all, I thank the players that really played a good game. I couldn't believe that we could win the game, but the boys were composed, they played well, and in the end we contained the game to the win. Congratulations, Uganda Cranes! Uganda Cranes, oh yeah!
Match was amazing. Vibes are here. Ugandans love Uganda. I love Uganda. I love the Cranes. Go Cranes! Go Uganda!
Gwalero amazima gubadde mupiira mulungi nnyo lwakuba ensamba tebadde nnungi naye kye twanonye ng'omuntu yenna buwanguzi jjukira Uganda ye ttiimu ne Congo abakakiika emirundi 7 mu kyani twasubwa asooka yekka kati amazima nga kubadde kukaaba okubanga tetugenda twategeka abantu 3 Kenya yabayisemu nga group leaders, Tanzania ne bayitamu nga group leaders. Kakati nga ffe tusigadde jjukira omupiira ogwasooka baatukuba kati nga tulina okufuba okulaba nga tuwangula guno naye era Katonda abadde mulungi abantu bagambye nga guli 3-1 ti goolo endala 2 weeziri aziteeba gwe simanyi. So Katonda yeebale okubanga kibadde ky'amaanyi naye gyogere
n'ensonga yange emu kino kigenda ku buli muwagizi eyafulumye tokikulanga tolekereranga ttiimu yo ngeri mbuzibu. It is wrong. Sigala wali abakuba olina kulaga amaanyi buli omu yagenze tadda. It is wrong. Gwe abakuba gwa 3 sigalawo lwaki obadduka nze kalamba tishati y'omukyalo eno omukyalo na Uganda abasigaddewo
omupiira bitwaze nti byonna bisoboka okiregera wano tuli waka tuli waka byonna bye bandikoze ne babikola kitulaze nti omupiira gubadde gusoboka gugwa 9 wano gulina kugwa 9 okiwulira eno timu ng'emaze owangula.
Grace has come back ever muchan tusasinza okubeera nga tukola bulungi atamanyi Uganda wano tojjaawo bazze bagamba ono Mandela kisaawe kike yalwanirira ddembe si mupiira wano Uganda Cranes naye abaana babatwale basule bulungi babajje mu katanga twagala abaana basule bulungi balye bulungi. Quarter final tuli wano emitwalo 4 tujjula wano asinza okuzannyira olwaleero abadde alanyokero azanye bulungi nnyo n'alaga obuvubu namboole woyo Uganda Cranes na mutima Kalamba tujja wano. Jowero Serunjo jabadde anuma nnyo naye omwana watambala agumidde wakati nnyo. Uganda nze mbadde nsaba oba basobola okutuwamu kaseno batuweemu mu kaceere bwa seno.
Essanyu lye tulina wano olunaku olwaleero era twabaza nnyo kafu eyaleese vaalu kubanga tebakuba vaalu abasajja badde batuluddeko wiini badde batusana ensabo naye vaalu kafu webale kuleeta vaalu webalire ddala.
Abawagizi abatuufu be basigadde mu kisaawe ne batuyambe ku mupira oguddamu tebadda abawagizi abatuufu be basigadde Uganda kwesoye.
Olina kyogamba yefe aba Uganda yefe twajja kulemwa.
Unbelievable happiness the Uganda Cranes have given Ugandans for the last 3 games here at Nambole. On my way home, the fans were lined up on the bypass, those rails on the bypass. People were, banging them, and they were waiting for the bus. One was asking, "What's the problem?" Tulinda Cranes, the Itawa no, again that's what? I'm like, okay, I think that will motivate the boys. But Uganda fans even asking to play the Uganda Arsenal. I think they are high in their happiness. But Joseph, lucky result for Uganda because on the balance of play, I think you feel that South Africa are really the better team. But somehow, sometimes when the luck is with you, you can play poorly and you still get the result that you desire.
Luck was with the Ugandans, and maybe some people are arguing that is luck that we created for ourselves. Because, for example, in the 30th second of the game, Gagwakatandika, we hoof it over after starting. Then we are put on pressure. And then when we are put on pressure, Bihogo makes a very silly tackle that would have earned him a booking on any other day. And you could clearly see him signaling to the ref that first time that this is and he knew exactly what he had done. For that whole half to go without Ugandans getting any cards, Sebagala stamping people here and there, and we got away without any cards. Then when you look at the goal we score, right before we score it, we are being attacked, and then somehow we get the ball away to Mpande, and there is that beautiful shot where you can see where you can see Jude Semugabi actually pointing to Kakande that you're running in the wrong channel. You go down, go down, and then when he runs to that channel, you see him dragging a defender with him, creating space for Jude to sort of finish off that goal. And that was the only time where we did anything intentionally. But when you look at the ball possession, we were actually very behind in ball possession. We had the goal, but we were on about 34% of that ball possession. And South Africa had that ball most of the time. They could have punished us on any other day, which they did, but it didn't pay off. So yes, Lady Luck was on our side.
Yeah.
Joseph talks about creating the luck, but I want to believe that South Africa were also very, very careful. Careless with how they gave away, especially that first penalty.
Yeah.
For me, the reason why I thought South Africa were quite, I think, nervous as well in those situations, despite having that should lead. And they did not have any sort of argument with how clear that penalty was. In fact, after that foul, the referee pointing to the spot, instead of usually players will go to the referee, you got this wrong, but they were basically talking to themselves that you shouldn't have done that here and now, And I think getting that penalty completely shifted the momentum.
Yeah.
And
Uganda now had the belief.
They had the belief now, and they couldn't manage the ball anymore. And when Mole Biekwaso gets all the striking options that he has on the bench and puts them on and forgets all about defending, you know the ball is going to be there and it's going to be hoofed in the air. And let's see what happens after that.
Yeah, very good intent there, bringing on Ivana Imbisiwe.
Center
basically throwing the kitchen sink at South Africa.
Yes.
I think one of the problems that you mentioned there, Franklin, was that South Africa, in that process, in all that melee, they made too many changes in substitution. And I think that's where things got lost in translation. Joseph is just coming on, and then he has to all of a sudden defend a difficult situation, and then you make mistakes. So maybe they should have just sort of try to manage the game with the resources they have,
that they had,
because Uganda is anyway going to come after them. So in the end, they just lost the whole plot, and Uganda was lucky enough to get those 2 penalties. Alan Okello taking one, and then I was surprised that Roger Storach decided to take the ball away from Alan Okello and take responsibility.
Alan Okello had actually gone off.
Oh, Alan Okello
from Mukundane.
Taking the responsibility to take that Roger Storach taking the responsibility to take that penalty. Yeah. So I was a bit worried, but defenders stepping up when there are so many strikers on the pitch.
But here is the thing: in moments like those, it is just as simple as that.
Maybe like John Terry.
Some people have you have to be psyched for moments like that for you to be able to take the penalty. Of course, in the press conference, Coach Mole was talking about because he was asked what is the penalty order in the team. And he said the next person to take the penalty was Yunus Sentamu. But Sentamu kind of declined, and the captain had to take on the moment. Like, of course, being the leader of the show, like, I either sink it or...
But I also think on the lighter note, when he saw Mukundane sort of like taking responsibility, he said, I'm familiar with your game.
Mukundane was not taking responsibility. Mukundane was just, you know how players usually, opposing players usually come to kind of get in the head of the person who has the ball, is going to take the penalty and all that. Mukundane was never going to take that penalty. Yeah. That's for sure. What he did was get the ball, be like the one who's going to take. If they are talking, they are going to be talking to him, and not the actual person who's going to take the penalty. That was just psychological.
So what you're saying is, if Mukundane had taken that penalty, the ball would somehow end up at Kings Park Arena.
You could find it from somewhere in where you're getting marketing.
Yeah, but kudos to to the captain to step up. And it's in moments like those where you need your leader to show their brevity and just step up to it. Yes. And he hit it with a lot of power and made sure that ball goes in, and that's what a leader does.
Yeah, he picked his spot and just went for power.
And maybe unfortunately for the South Africans, they sort of ran out of time, and I believe that they were also protesting it, which I think is sort of fair, because that check took way too long, and then when it was done, that time wasn't really compensated.
8 minutes of added time.
That is minimum added time. All the time that had been wasted earlier prior to that. But again, for me, I wouldn't question the penalties. Yeah. Even the second one, hand away. We have seen those being given quite easy, even without even going to hand away from the body.
I went home and I was watching Everton
blocking a shot going to directly at the goal. If it were like somewhere where the shot was going out, but it was a direct shot to the goal, and your hand is away from the body, it doesn't matter. You're always going to award that. And before that, I want to give credit to the players for making that shout until they had for the referee to go to the VAR, because it was the players who kept demanding, even when play was almost going to resume, like, let us first review this incident until
let's consult a VR. But the Kawowo sports team caught up with Yasa Mogera to give his thoughts about this game and how the Cranes performed, as Fred finds it, how the Cranes performed in this particular game against South Africa.
Well, thank you. The performance in the group stages wasn't so good, but we managed to qualify onto the quarterfinals. I wasn't happy with the results. I was happy with the results, but not the performance. I would say we didn't perform so well in the group stages, but we managed to go to the quarterfinals. Basically, the players have been playing so well, like hard working, but performance, like playing the ball, we are not playing the ball, and we are not scoring planned goals. But we are happy, everyone is happy that we managed to go into the quarterfinals. Going into quarterfinals, we expect them to come and try to play good football, and as well winning football. Basically, not conceding silly goals like we've been conceding against Algeria and South Africa. So with that, I think we can qualify into the semi-finals. As a former midfielder or as a midfielder, I would say I'm happy with the boys because they've been performing so well since we started. Even against Algeria, they played so well. I'm happy with Sebagala and Watambala and Alan plus who is that we missed today?
Yeah, that is former midfielder for the Uganda Cranes, Yaswa Mugera, giving his thoughts about the game. People already dreaming about the semi-final. I don't think Uganda has semi-final. I know we're hosting a quarter-final, but we're not hosting any of the semi-finals. Yeah. But the probability, what are the options in terms of who will be our quarter-final opponent? Game, by the way, is on Saturday.
Yep. Senegal, South Sudan, and Congo. Congo brother.
Amazing things, even if they don't have a local league run, or they are local league runs in another country. But they've done very well in the tournament.
Yes. So, of course, Sudan plays Senegal today, and Congo is playing Nigeria. Now, the second in that group.
Nigeria already out.
Nigeria is already out, yes. So it is between Senegal, Congo, and Sudan. Yeah. Whoever finishes second is who we are playing at Namol on Saturday.
All right.
Probably you'd want not to play Senegal, defending champions, even if they have just one player who is returning from the winning team. One or two players who are returning from the winning team.
But then we have already played Senegal in that Tri Nations competition that happened.
And actually beat them.
So yes, I think you'd want to play a familiar opponent, probably Senegal or Congo. Sudan may be tricky because we are still to hit that mental block that we usually have against North African opponents. So I really hope
a lot of people convinced that with the sort of support that the Uganda Cranes have enjoyed in Nambole, bring England or Brazil. Bring England or Brazil. And I would like to remind you that on the game days for the Chan tournament, our football resident experts are all running a live ticker. If you go to the Kawowo Sports website, you'll be able to follow the game in all detail. You won't miss anything. So make sure if you can be in Nambole, just go to Kawowo Sports and then you'll be able to follow that match live ticker. How far can the Cranes go? Is this far enough?
No,
can we dream?
Yeah, for sure we can. I mean, obviously you're not going to have Mihogo. I mean, Wukondane in the defense. You expect Odong to one of the Dongos to come back in and pair up with Torach. But of course, Biekwas will be happy to have Seun George back. And now there is going to be a bit of consistency with from midfield upwards. I thought they'll try to keep a lot of consistency with how the team has played and how it has lined up. And at this point, you really can dream. One thing that will happen for sure is that fans are not going to get out of the stadium, at least, regardless of what the score will be. But you want a team to defend a little better. You don't want to concede fast in a quarterfinal, because that is going to play a little bit with your psyche in trying to look for the equalizer and going forward, and then that's when you leave the gaps exposed. I mean, for Uganda, I think scoring fast in that quarterfinal has to be the way to go. And I mean, you want that crowd behind you. Having seen what they do when you're behind, they are not going to try you that much. So you want to get the crowd involved as soon as possible. And an goal maybe, even if it is just in the first half, but you don't want to concede in the first half. And by the way, play better in the 10-15 minutes of the second half, because that is where usually Uganda concedes, when they concede against Algeria and yesterday. So they have to be a little bit cautious when coming out of the dressing room.
Yesterday, I think we only played the last 10 minutes of the second half, not the first few minutes. Joseph, are you dreaming or are you being realistic?
Well, I think it is realistic. First of all, we are home, so that is the first, sort of advantage that we have. Initially, we were scared that if at all we finish second in the group, then we'd probably have to make the trip to Nairobi for the Ugandan fans. But we shall be playing at home, playing in Nambole. That should mean something. So I believe every fan is allowed to dream. This may be it.
There we go.
this might be it. Joseph calling it that the Ugandan Cranes could go all the way. I'm also just thinking that the other two hosts are also still in the tournament. So if you can negotiate your semi-final, I mean your quarter-final, you could sort of end up maybe meeting one of them in the semi-finals, and there things can go either way. But I mean, there is no price to dream. I think we can afford to dream for now. The Uganda Cranes have been really very, very solid. Have made us proud. I think no one thought they would go this far. Someone mentioning there that maybe that State House someone worked. We should be summoned again in the quarterfinals, and then we see how it happens.
No need. That was enough.
Yeah.
That was enough. I think for now the motivation is there. I think everyone around the team wants to be part of this history. They want to get even better. In fact, one of the questions that we asked to Molevia Consuesa during the press conference is that have the targets now changed? The target was to get out of the group. The targets now changed? Like, did not even mince his words. It changed as soon as the final whistle went. And so getting to the semi-final is now the new target.
Yeah, the boy is also dreaming as well. Just before we go, Franklin, the basketball playoffs, are they happening this weekend?
No. The playoffs will be played, I think, the first weekend of September. For now, tentatively, they are scheduled to start, I think, on 5th September. So you have enough time to prepare your teams to be ready. I mean, the Silverbacks, I think, will be returning this week. And of course, the State Oil continent, that is part of it. Both their coaches have been. Their coach has been away.
All right,
so
it's going to be a big party when the basketball playoffs come back again. But this weekend, don't miss this third round of the rugby sevens season that will be hosted by the Entebbe Mongas in Kawowo. The Kasese Marathon as well will be happening this weekend in Kasese. Should be exciting. There's been a lot of activities around that marathon, and of course you haven't missed any of that because Kawowo Sports has been bringing you all the updates about the marathon. So make sure we shall meet each other in somewhere in Fort Portal, because the Boys Schools Cricket Week Championship will also be starting this weekend in Fort Portal. So I'll probably be down there in the hills of Fort Portal, following up on the future stars of Uganda cricket. But the biggest one of them all, the quarterfinal, Uganda will know the opponents after this evening, and who Uganda will be playing in that quarterfinal on Saturday. So keep it Kawowo Sports for you to be updated on who our quarterfinal opponent will be in the Chan Championship. But that has been our time on another interesting episode of the Weekly Wowos. I've been your host, Dennis Musale. I've had the pleasure of having our editor, Franklin Kaweru, resident rugby expert, Joseph Man Muhomuza, Fred, as usual, our producer. And until next week, make sure you always keep reading Kawowo Sports.
Yep.